Hey guys, it's Nathan from the Minecraft blog, and welcome to our first ever Minecraft discussion. I'm here with Candi, Alex, and Rick, and we're going to be discussing some stuff that's coming to us in the new 1.9 Minecraft update, as well as some things that we want to see from the update. So, first what we're going to be talking about is a screenshot that Dinnerbone released. He sort of released it in a sort of a encrypted state, because basically what he did is he chopped it up into 2 pixel wide columns and then stacked them all up. And then some people figured it out and then basically turned it back into a regular screenshot, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So basically what the screenshot shows is an inventory with a couple different kinds of arrows, specifically being regular arrows, these black-tipped arrows, some green-tipped arrows, which might be poison, some orangey pink-tipped arrows, which might be fire, and some gold-tipped arrows, as well as a specific slot for arrows and a quiver, as well as a slot for what appears to be a shield. So what are you guys' impressions on this image?
Well, looking at the image, there's a couple things to take note of. The first one would be the fact that there's a quiver. Now, this is just me saying what I think. I think it might hold, like, you know, a stack of arrows. As you can see, there's arrows right next to it, which I'm assuming is what you put into the quiver. As for the arrow types itself, I'm not sure if the orange one would be fire resistance, just because, I mean, if you enchant a bow, you can get your fire on it, but it could be like some sort of like weakness effect, or maybe a new effect that they put into the game.
Yeah,
as for the green one, which it kind of looks like it's going to be poison, and the black one, I think it's going to be wither, but the yellow one, I have 2 opinions for it. Either the first one would be, it would be some sort of like piercing arrow, which, like, you know, if you get hit by it, it ignores all the like defensive effects of armor, and it, you know, you take damage, you know, for what your bow's damage is.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I could think of would be like explosive arrows. You know, you hit something and it like kind of explodes in like a 3x3 radius or something.
Yeah.
But those are my thoughts on like the arrow types, and who knows what the shield icon could be.
I actually feel like the gold one could easily be some sort of holy damage type of thing, like you would do to a zombie or to a skeleton.
So, sort of like a smite arrow.
Yeah. Can you?
That'd be kind of interesting, now that I think of it.
I feel like it might be some kind of like double damage kind of thing, but I think we're all in agreement that the gold ones would be like more heavy hitting than the normal ones, especially since they have that like really strong black outline. So I'm really interested to see what this pans out to.
Chances are probably also going to be fairly expensive to make in that case.
Yeah, especially if it's actually using gold for the arrowhead.
So it has to do something at least significant.
Yeah.
So,
and unless
would you reckon the arrows would have a durability on them?
No, because there's only. I mean, you can only fire each arrow once, so.
I feel like if they're doing like new different types of arrows, maybe there's a different type of bow that we've never seen before. Sort of like, instead of your regular bow, you know, you have like a long bow, which is like focused more on the range, or, you know, a crossbow or something like that.
I'm actually interested to see what kind of mobs they're probably going to introduce, because the mobs might have certain resistances to the types of arrows, which would be interesting.
Yeah. Personally, I feel like maybe like zombies or witches might be immune to the poison arrows, if that's what the green ones turn out to be. So maybe that'll factor into it in some
Actually,
way.
bringing it back to the there's a different type of bows. Do you reckon there might be different firing speeds for if there were going to be different bows?
I think that would be an interesting idea.
So you
and
have
I think,
smaller bows which you can't
Yeah.
fire as far, but they'd be like rapid fire bows.
Yeah.
So
I think this
basically
kind
long-
of is a good segue into our discussion on what we want to see in 1.9.
Yeah.
And going off of what you said, Rick, one thing that I kind of want to see is maybe some sort of variety with the ranged weapons. So, like, specifically what I want to see is some kind of, like, a dart gun or something that you can fire without having, like, a movement penalty. Because I know when we're playing, like, Capture the Flag or something like that, it can be kind of difficult to catch people that are running away with your flag because you have to, like, basically slow down to a crawl in order to fire arrows.
Yeah.
So kind of like you're able to sprint and shoot at the same time without the slowdown. Oh, that
Yeah, I don't want to say like a gun, but something that doesn't have the movement impact.
Something
that would be interesting.
Yeah. Something you would most likely see that you could make out with the supplies that you have, like some sort of like dart shooter thing,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Like a dart gun or a slingshot or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, would the movement be just for that dart gun, or do you think they might do something where they get rid of the movement slowdown for bows in general?
I don't think they're gonna get rid of it, honestly. I don't think that would happen. Mostly just because that would completely change how bows work. And part of the balance now with bows is that you have to stop and fire them off, which is why I think it would make more sense to have a separate item that did the same thing but without the effect.
Oh, okay. So, let's talk about that shield-like icon for a second. What are your thoughts on, like, the possibilities of there being, like, a shield or something in Minecraft?
Well,
I think
go ahead.
the shields are probably going to be like the different kinds of armor that we have, like armor, gold, things of that nature. Probably going to end up ranking just like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think probably that would be a replacement for the blocking mechanic that we currently have, because that's kind of useless.
So, basically, when you use the blocking motion, it would pull out the shield instead.
Yeah. And I think probably the way that would work is if you didn't have a shield, you could just block normally, but it wouldn't be as effective. I'm thinking kind of like Skyrim style. When you have a shield, you can like raise it to block attacks.
Now, what if there was like, because obviously you're not gonna be holding that shield in your hand like the entire time you're doing things. So what if you like, when you like weren't blocking and it was put on your back, it like gives a boost to like damage resistance when you're getting hit from behind or something?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that may be a little too complicated for Mojang, but I like the idea personally.
I think it'd be kind of interesting to see something like that. You know, change the tactics when going into battle or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking like, Ocarina of Time, when Link has the shield on his back, you can kind of crouch and block stuff.
But what if it's like, what if that's not a shield? What if that's something completely different? I
don't know what else it would be. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
A food pouch. Something to keep your food in when you're doing your thing.
Yeah.
That would be much worth for having badges.
Yeah.
We don't need no stinking badges.
What if it was like a separate backpack or something?
I don't want to
Obviously,
get my hopes
look
up
like
on
that. No extra
More carrying
inventory
space
space.
ever.
Yeah, I feel like that's
wish.
kind of the thing that Mojang would look at and be like, yeah, let's let the modders do that.
Yeah.
Partly because I feel like they don't really want to mess with the whole, like, inventory too much. Like, I don't know. I feel like that would be a little too far-fetched based on what they currently have.
I don't think it would be complicated to do something like that, because they could basically take like a single chest inventory and like transform that into like a backpack or something.
Yeah, well, it's not complicated. I just don't think it's entirely copacetic with their current like inventory model, so to speak.
Yeah, maybe not.
So what else do you guys want to see from 1.9 as far as combat goes?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Candy.
Nah, go. Just like I said earlier, probably just different mobs. I mean, granted, what we have is good, but it'd be kind of interesting to see them add mobs made more for combat.
So, what kind of mobs specifically would you want to see?
Like, maybe some more undead-related things would be interesting. Like liches or something.
That would be cool.
What
I reckon they might be more intelligent when it comes to combat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely some improvements to mob AI. I mean, it's gotten way better over the years. Like, it used to be terrible, and now it's a lot smarter, but I definitely feel like there's a lot more they could do with the mob AI, particularly in regards to handling multiple players, because sometimes the mobs can be a little stupid when there's more than one player around. Like, they'll just lock onto one of them and then completely ignore all the others, even if they're closer.
What if there was like a hostile flying type of mob?
I would stay indoors always.
but what kind of mob would that be?
Gas.
It would probably be something that would spawn in dark areas like caves.
A giant bee.
That would be terrifying.
That would be so terrifying.
What if there were some bats that actually attacked you?
Vampire bats?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Or
I like
what
that
about
Like a small chance for a vampire bat or something.
a bat that can transform into a vampire and then back into a bat? I think that's getting too far ahead of myself there.
A little bit.
But that would definitely
make
for some interesting, like, zombie survival type arenas.
Yeah, you have something flying down, like, trying to kill you, and you're like, where is it coming from? Because it's, like, it's flying, and you're not used to that.
Yeah, because right now the only, like, analog we have to that are Ghasts and the Ender Dragon. And both of those are pretty niche mobs.
With the new arrows and stuff coming in, it would be an excuse to attack more flying creatures.
I agree.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, attacking flying creatures, if they're flying fairly fast, it's going to be pretty difficult. I mean, trying to hit a moving player is fairly difficult. Do you reckon some of the arrows might be homing arrows?
That would be terrifying.
Yeah, how would you outrun one of those?
They probably would be weakly homing.
Yeah. But still, as weak as they might be, they're still deadly.
Yeah.
Especially if you shoot one of those poison arrows, or so we think, at them, and then finish it with a homing arrow. That would be terrifying. But
I agree.
I remember seeing a post about the Ender Dragon battle being completely different. What do you think about that?
I mean, right now, the MLG strats for battling the Ender Dragon is hide in a box and shoot it with arrows until it dies. So
I thought I could
feel
fly through things, though.
Yeah, and I think it's just like, get to cover as best as you can and just hit it with arrows. So I feel like it could definitely use some kind of revamping, maybe.
You reckon she might become a bit more destructive and actually be able to break more blocks?
Yeah.
I heard that they might bring back, like, the fireball thing that they have in the console version of the Ender Dragon fight for the PC. And,
I know absolutely nothing about that.
well, from my understanding, they shoot, like, these fireballs or something, to my knowledge at least, that do considerable amounts of damage, and they're actually a lot more difficult to fight since you have to watch out for those. It's kind of like a gas fireball, except it's the Ender Dragon.
Yeah. I think that would definitely help spice up the battle a little bit, because right now I think the Ender Dragon is a little predictable. In that it kind of just can only charge you, and as long as you can like get out of the way in time, you can pretty much avoid damage.
Yeah, I also feel like it's a easier boss battle than the Wither.
I mean, I would assume, considering they're making an update with combat, that they'd be adding new bosses too.
So what kind of new bosses do you think they might add?
Well, we have a dragon. What other mythical beings are there that are gigantic? Maybe a Cthulhu?
A centaur. Definitely a centaur.
Notch, I remember back in beta when dragons were like, you know, one of those mystical features that might be in the game someday. Notch always said that he was going to make a red dragon that lived in the overworld, and that you would be able to ride it, I believe is what he said. But, you know,
that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's one of those things that, like, Notch said he would add eventually and then never did, kind of like fish and lanterns and stuff like that.
All the above.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Notch promised us that he didn't deliver once he was elected, so to speak.
What would you like to see, like, other than the bows and stuff, for swords, possibly?
I was actually about to talk about that.
Yeah, do you reckon there might be any new sword enchants, maybe?
I think that probably will be something that they might add in 1.9, because, you know, things like, I don't remember the exact names, but like, kind of like wither effects on swords and stuff like that, like kind of like draining. Yeah, sort of like that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think it would be interesting to have like enchantments that deal with players' armor. So, for instance, maybe like a piercing enchantment that like ignores armor, or perhaps like one that does additional armor damage.
That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
What about, like, different weapons in general? Like, maybe a spear or a battle axe or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have axes, but yeah, I definitely think battle axes would be interesting. Yeah, I think the best way to implement stuff like that would be to make, do the, you know, classic damage per second conservation, where you have weapons that hit harder but take longer to swing.
My only thing is, with some of the items that we're adding, you're gonna have people accusing them of ripping ideas from Terraria.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I mean, people accuse Terraria of ripping ideas from Minecraft, so...
Honestly, that's true.
Honestly, Minecraft could learn a thing or two from Terraria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, like, if you added different weapon types and stuff, it'd certainly make shields more useful.
Yeah, definitely.
If that happens to be a thing.
Yeah,
because...
and, like, heavier weapons could, like, do more damage to shields than light weapons.
Now, would these heavier weapons have more durability than the lighter weapons, or have less because they hit harder?
That's interesting, and I'm not really sure. I think both of those avenues would be perfectly valid.
Yeah. Well, I just think because you have, like, obviously a slower weapon, but a lot more powerful, then there needs to be, like, some sort of side effect or something. Like, maybe holding a battle axe gives you mining fatigue or something.
Yeah. I feel like it would have less durability just because, like, if you think about it in terms of durability versus damage dealt, like, say, for instance, a sword, it gets depleted after a certain number of hits. But if you got, like, the same number of hits on the axe, for, let's say, that had more damage per hit, you would essentially get more damage per the same durability. So I feel like it would have to be less durability to account for the total amount of damage the weapon could output over its lifespan.
What? Talking about, like, maybe bad effects you get by wielding these weapons. Do you think that there's going to be like new potions or stuff added as well?
I definitely think that's going to be something they're going to add, because people have been wanting like new and rebalanced potion effects for combat for a long time. But I have no idea what they could add, because I don't really know much about potions. I don't do a lot with those.
I'm honestly hoping they'll probably add or fix some stuff with enchantments as well. That'd be good. Maybe get looting on a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
That's
Finally actually get
want.
like gas tiers without having to do all kinds of complicated mess.
Yeah, well that and that I primarily use a bow in general, so it'd be kind of nice to, reap the rewards of using a bow rather than a sword all the time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as much as I, like the sword, the bow's what I use, like, 95% of the time.
It doesn't make sense why you wouldn't have looting on it anyway. It's another primary attack thing,
Yeah, it's one of the most valuable enchantments for, obviously, weaponry, even though you can only put it on one thing.
Yeah.
But, like, looting / fortune is something that everyone wants. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't want that.
Yeah, of course.
And I'd be surprised if there was. So, that's that.
So it's probably restricted to swords, basically, because you can use a bow and arrow at a distance, and whereas the sword you actually have to get up close and personal and actually run the risk of being hit yourself.
But would there be like some sort of lesser enchantment value? Like, you have looting for a sword, it could be like looting, you can only go up to looting 1 or 2 or something like that. Or like the value is less.
Thing, yeah.
I mean, whether or not you're up close and personal, it's still just as dangerous when you're shooting a bow and arrow at certain enemies.
Yeah, especially that ghast.
Yeah, which is what its primary usage, unless they add more flying, dangerous mobs.
Yeah, a vulture or a gargoyle or something.
A vulture would be really good. It's a simple thing.
Yeah, but it would be kind of weird. Like, they would have to do all the flying mechanics and stuff, and like obviously it would have to fly different than a ghast or an ender dragon, because the ghast just kind of floats.
Yeah.
And the ender dragon's like on a direct path towards you and charges and stuff. They don't do any like weird movements. Where I think like if you had something like a vulture, it would have to do like strange movements to make it like difficult to fight or something.
Yeah, they'd essentially have to create like an entirely new AI for that kind of mob, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it's, more work that they have to do, so it's less likely that it'll happen.
Yeah, but if they're trying to give people what they want, then it's certainly a suggestion.
Yeah, well, I don't think
Maybe
it's a bad idea at all.
Like different mobs related to the biomes that they're in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Speaking of that, I think like biomes such as like the savannah or something, you get lions or something, hostile mobs like lions or tigers, or even like in water, like other than the sea temples, there's no hostiles, so maybe they have like
a shark,
an electric shark, or like an electric eel or something.
Yeah, they had sharks in the Mo Creatures mod. I mean, I haven't played that since Minecraft beta, but yeah, they had sharks and stuff in the water, and they also had dolphins, which looked like sharks until you got up close. So it was always a gamble.
Were they like really difficult to fight or something, or?
I don't know. I don't remember. It was years ago.
Oh.
But anyway, keeping us on topic, what about the idea of heavier armors giving you more restricted movement?
Sort of like...
I like it. It provides a use for lighter armors like chainmail and leather.
Yeah.
Chainmail might be slightly changed.
Yeah, same with leather. I think.
I mean, right now you can't actually make chainmail. You can only find it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if they're gonna do something like that, then they'll probably add like more armors. Like maybe they add stone armor or something like that, or like hard-plated armor.
Yeah.
It's, like have different armor types like light armor and heavy armor, or light, medium, heavy, or stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree.
It would definitely change combat for sure. I mean, just looking at the picture, Dinnerbone's picture, I mean, that's just changing combat right there with just those different arrow types. Who knows what exactly is going to be there and how it's going to change combat. Because even when they updated to 1.8 and they changed the bow and arrow mechanics, it changed combat.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I think it would kind of be nice to get, like, as you were saying earlier about, the overworld dragon, maybe, like, some sort of nether boss, too. Have a boss in each world or something.
Well, I mean, we already have the Wither and the Nether.
Yeah, I suppose. But, I mean, how about something, like, naturally spawning, rather than something you have to create?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe, like, a natural spawning wither somewhere. But that would cause a lot of destruction.
Yeah, that would be kind of
Cells
crazy.
actually have a
Issue
boss.
like, some players don't ever go out and find the boss. Some are just not comfortable with that. And throwing them into that kind of situation wouldn't be something that would make them want to continue playing.
So, could it be like, instead of having the risk of like running into one of these, maybe there's like a certain area that they spawn in, and if you want to fight them, you go to that area, but if you don't, like, you'll know what area they're in, and you won't have the chance of running into it if you know what it is. Because I could kind of see, like, that could be a problem, because if you have like a wither roaming the overworld looking for you, that could be a huge problem.
Maybe it would.
Yeah.
Something like that would only spawn on hard mode or something.
Like hardcore mode?
Or like hard difficulty as opposed to normal or easy. And that leads me to another point, being more changes between the different difficulties. Because right now it's mostly just like has to do with how much damage mobs deal, which isn't really very exciting. Personally, I'd like to see some things on hard where like certain mobs only spawn on hard mode. Like, certain things only happen on hard mode in terms of like world generation. Just to make it a more different, make it more difficult and make it like a completely different experience.
Yeah, because
now, something that they did in New Vegas in Fallout that I liked, you had a choice to do the hardcore mode, but by doing that, you had to do things like you have to sleep, and you have to drink water in order to survive.
Yeah, what if they added like thirst into Minecraft as something?
No, that would be awful.
Everyone will have a lake by their house.
That bit.
Yeah.
No, I think it makes survival a lot more difficult, but that's obviously not combat, so... But it would make combat interesting, too, because, after a while you're gonna get dehydrated, and how would you, like, refill yourself?
I don't even want to think about that.
That would be awful. I'm not gonna doubt that at all.
Alright,
I think they'll actually hinder the gameplay, then help it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I have to agree.
So, I think that's about it for this discussion, so thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next time.